Hello, Clement. Nice to hear you.
Hello to all our viewers from Poland and from all over the world, where I hope our analysis will go through and will put some light on the difficult situation, also in our region, but in all the world, regarding the conflict in Ukraine, regarding the elections in Romania, and regarding Europe as a whole, because the same problems that you saw in Romania in the last elections, they start to be seen in Germany, in France, like a model who is repeating itself.
Yes, and we might encounter similar problems in Poland as we have presidential elections this spring. So the topic is very important, and I would like to start from a very, very simple question, I think. Who is the president, acting president of Romania now? I mean, according to the Romanian constitution, according to the Romanian law, because as far as I know, Klaus Iohannis still claims that he is a president.
Yeah, this is a big dispute, and the S.O.S. Romania party, who is led by MEP Diana Iovanovici-Șoșoacă, has deposed several complaints in Constitutional Court, in Senate, and in Chamber of Deputy in Romania. The complaint for the Senate was signed by myself, where we ask that the position of president will be vacated, will be free according to Constitution, because the mandate of president in Romania is exactly 5 years, and these 5 years has ended on 21st of December. So normally, in the same day, the new elected president of the Senate should become acting president, so a provisional mandate as president to obey the fundamental law. But President Iohannis, he used the Constitutional Court, who already has a lot of disputable decisions, to let him to be president until the next president will be elected. So we'll have a few months in a difficult situation where you can contest all the decisions of the president with the argument that he is no longer president. But this new, not recognized president by the opposition, he just swore in a new government. So the question is, the new government is also illegal because the president who swore this government into office is no longer president. So this is the fracture in society. All the nationalist voters, who are around 50%, they do not recognize the president, but the president still have the power and he has the government, so he stays in the office, and a new government is already acting like it would be a normal government. So half of
Speaking
the
more
country.
generally,
Yes,
sorry to
yes.
interrupt you, speaking more generally, in Poland we had such a situation in 2011 when then acting president died in a plane crash. And
Yes, I remember.
of course, according to our constitution, as well as according to the Romanian constitution, if the president's term is finished, then the head of one of the houses of parliament,
Yes,
in
the
your case, the
superior
Senate.
house should be
Yes,
the
yes,
Senate.
yes.
Yeah.
In our case, it's the lower house, but in the
The lower,
Romanian case,
okay.
it's the Senate.
Okay.
And generally, I think that I have an impression that you are following, I mean, the Romanian authorities are now following the example of Ukraine, because it's Ukraine who has the same situation since May 2024. I mean, Zelensky is no more the president according to the Ukrainian constitution. So, do you think that from the legal point of view, regardless the political preferences of people and so on, but from the purely legal point of view, it's something like a Ukrainization of Romania when it comes to legal and constitutional aspects?
Well, Ukrainians, at least they had the pretext of war, you know. You have emergency situation, like Moldova also invoked it several times. So you can postpone the elections, like in pandemic also, when you have a crisis. In Romania, we do not have a crisis. Fortunately, we didn't go directly to war just to justify a presidential mandate, but we have another crisis, constitutional crisis, because the presidential elections were invalidated by the same constitutional court. So we are facing unseen situation in Romania. Never happened this before to have the elections annulled in the same day when people started already to vote for the second round of the election. Okay. And now it's matter of interpretation, you know. Of course, the power says we keep the power to assure stability and to govern the country. The opposition says you cannot invoke anything you want just to keep yourself in power. So Ukrainization maybe it's too much to say, but de-Europeanization for sure. So de-democratization. Okay, I'm afraid it's an authentic, original model, because we are not in the war, so we don't have this way of interpreting things. We just invented our own constitutional interpretation. We just made a new model, because this new model, you will see, can be now exported to other European countries. In which sense? Of course, they maybe will not invalidate a candidate like Diana Iovanovici-Șoșoacă on 5th of October. This is when everything started to go crazy, you know. Maybe they will not invalidate with this reason, but think that in France, Marine Le Pen cannot candidate if they give a court solution where they annul their civic right to be a candidate because of a penal indictment. Okay, it's the same thing with other arguments. So when you have a candidate you cannot avoid and you don't want in your election, you just invent a reason to put him out. Okay, if it's a constitutional court, if it's a judicial court, it doesn't matter anymore. Okay, you just remember that Marine Le Pen has a very old trial, no, and you give a solution where she cannot be a candidate for the 5 next year, and it's over. But it's the same idea. In Germany, you can put Alternative für Deutschland out of the law. No, you invoke the same thing, some declarations. This case it's much more similar with Romania, but it's about a party, not about a leader. Okay, because it's about parliamentary elections, which will be very soon in Germany, as they dissolve the parliament. So if there is a party, not a person, who is blocking your idea to keep the power, you put the whole party out of the law, no? And you clean the scene. And then, of course, if you put a person or a party from the opposition out of law, in that time, the only people and the only parties who are in the electoral race are the people you like as a power, are the people who are who agrees with the globalist politics. So the democracy, of course, has vanished. So I think it's a new model. We will call it Romanian model, and I am eager but very, very concerned to see it as a laboratory from where they will try to apply in some other countries. The difference from Ukraine is the war factor. As long as, at least officially, in Europe, we are not in the war, the situation is different. But we are in a political war where all the power in Europe, all those who are working with Ursula von der Leyen, okay, just to give the idea what is about, what policy we talk about, all these parties and powers will try to get out of the race the parties and the people who become more and more popular and who propose a different approach of European politics. So if they could, they would get out of Viktor Orban, of course, of Robert Fico, but they tried. Actually, they tried, but they didn't succeed because they were already in power. They were already strong enough to resist. But when it comes to AfD, which is in opposition forever until now, so he doesn't have the tools to protect himself, or about Marine Le Pen, who is also in opposition and he doesn't have any institution to protect her, about these cases, about Poland also, they may try the same, no? If there is a candidate, and I am thinking about one who is not in the line of the general politics of the state, they can very easily, with a penal indictment, with a different reason, just to forbid his candidacy. And
yes, but
this,
Romanian case, Clement, is slightly different, I think, because
I see.
you mentioned France. Okay, it's something very well known also in Poland that they convict the candidate to eliminate her or him from participating in the elections. So they use legal methods.
Okay.
They use also other methods, like, for instance, questioning the signatures, the authenticity of signatures collected by a candidate. But all of those methods are more or less legal. And when I read the arguments of the court, which rejected the candidacy of Diana Șoșoacă, I was shocked to notice that they were referring to her political views, to her political initiatives. So this is nothing. This has nothing about legal or procedural questions, but her political views, right?
Yes. Who are covered by immunity. So the immunity of a senator, she was senator during the time of those statements, or as an MEP now, it covers precisely any political views, okay, any political statements. So they invalidated the core of the immunity of an elected person. You know, the core is that he can speak freely, he or she can speak freely without fearing the consequences of the statements, okay? So in this way, you assure the freedom of speech, you know, the freedom of political opposition. When they annul this immunity for political statements, in that moment, you cut from the ground the very essence of democracy, because the opposition cannot talk anymore, because they can be accused because of their statements. This is the first point. The second point is that they made a judgment for the future, and this was observed even from Romanian analysts who are not sympathizers of her, you know, but they said, you cannot judge a people for something that he will not do, because the argument in constitutional court decision is that she will not obey to the constitution if she will be elected. So they make a judgment for future action. And this is only in science fiction movies, when a state secret service, you know, is identifying your tendencies, and they convict you because in 1-2 years, maybe you become a criminal, comparing with your behaviors in the present. So this is what they did. They accuse her of breaking the law in the future, which is unheard about, you know.
It's like, you know, Aldous Huxley or George Orwell.
Yes, yes.
In
Just
this
your
spirit.
tendencies or
Yes.
your possibility to do something against the law or the state, something like that. So there are unique characters. Also, those statements are just very normal. It is about criticizing EU, okay? A third of the European Parliament is criticizing EU, all the right side of the European Parliament, and even the left, not the PSE, no, not the European Socialist, the other left, they are criticizing EU. So if you extend the idea, you have to block out a third of the European Parliament, a third of the parties in Europe, because now they are third of the election, third of the votes are for people and for parties who are criticizing EU, or for criticizing NATO. It's the same thing, finally, okay? So from one shot, you just take out from political life, from political views, and from political freedom a third of the population of the European Union, which is
Exactly. The case of Iovanovici-Șoșoacă was a kind of prelude to the next step to annulling the results of the first round of presidential elections in Romania. What were the official reasons of this annulation? Because
okay.
I have read that even Klaus Iohannis and some other current politicians from the political establishment of Romania told that there's no evidence of Russian meddling in the elections,
Yes,
but it
this
is
was there.
highly likely. You know, it is
Very
highly
likely.
likely.
You,
So
it,
we don't have
it,
evidence, but we think that
yes,
it was like that.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Maybe in the future it will happen, so we have to annul the elections now,
Yes.
something like that. Yes, actually, it's a very very direct evolution. So first, you forbid a candidate for statements, okay, and for future intentions. Next, you forbid all the elections for possible interference and also for future possibility that I know foreign policy of Romania will change to a more peaceful attitude, anti-war and more people-orientated actually policy, as you can see it in all the polls in Romania and in Europe actually. But it was a step further because first of all, this meddling in the elections, it's one when you see it in the newspapers, because we all the time read in the newspaper different journalists and analysts who are saying about influence pro-Russian politician, pro-Russian declarations, and at some time you start to laugh because it's just opinions, okay? Okay, freedom of speech, let them write. When these opinions become law in a country, okay, when someone who is saying everybody who speaks about peace is pro-Russian, okay, because this is the main idea, okay, when this point of view becomes constitutional point in annulling the elections, well, it's not laughable anymore. Because it's one thing that someone in his laptop is writing his opinion, okay, against this guy, against negotiations for peace, against Russia, against, I don't know, against the people who wants to find a solution, to stop this war. This is one thing. And it's another thing when people who are invested with the most powerful mandate in Romania, these are the people from Constitutional Court, but they are not judges. They are just political nominee. Okay, so they are politicians. Before being member of Constitutional Court, they were politicians. So they have no high ground. Okay, when these people they just get together and they say, well, this guy or this candidate or this Iovanovici-Șoșoacă, they say things that we don't like. So what do? We forbid them. These elections may not finish as we wish, because we want this one to win, our guy to win. Is he winning? No. Well, if he's not winning, it means that Russia is to be blamed. So
Exactly.
this is
who is behind all of this? I mean, from a purely, let's say, analytical point of view, who made that strategic decision to first not register some candidates, then to annul the elections? We know that officially it was the Constitutional Court, of course, as you told us, but how does it work? I mean, did someone make a phone call to the judges of Constitutional Court and told them how the decision should look like? Who was behind all of that?
You can describe it as a deep state, okay? That every country has a hand of people, who take the calls, who receive indications from outside the country also. But it was a conspiracy of all the main parties. Because first of all those main parties, basically the first two, the liberals who are affiliated to European Popular. So they are directly linked to Ursula von der Leyen and the Social Democrats. Okay, they are together in European Parliament. They are together in Romania. So first of all, they intended to arrange the presidential elections in such a way that one of their candidates become president. Okay, this was the first idea. So you take out the main danger, it was Diana Iovanovici-Șoșoacă, and then you start to arrange things, because without a real candidate against you, the people who want more, they will be disappointed, they will not come to the votes, and then you can calculate the votes based on your electorate that you control, okay? But meantime, those people who were disappointed because their main candidate was kicked out, okay, they started to find an alternative, to revenge, to say so, to find someone else outside of the system just to punish the main parties. And they found it, okay. That candidate had a very powerful result, because the votes of all anti-system people who are very much in Romania now, all the people who are offended by the fact that Diana Șoșoacă was kicked out, they started to take revenge against the system, voting for a candidate who didn't belong to the parties, who didn't belong to their games. Okay, in that moment, of course, the parties, they tried to control the votes, they controlled the process of counting the votes, but still they didn't manage to save the situation. They started then to recount the votes. To recount the votes means to arrange them again, starting to take another figures, another numbers from the calculations. It didn't work out this time. So it was like the final decision, or the only decision to stop the presidential elections to go in other direction than their will was to annul them of all. And here they were involved all. President, decision makers from European Union, because otherwise they would comment and they will punish Romania for taking such a decision. Instead of this, they give Romania big kisses because they save the democracy. Okay, so they save the European policy strategy. That's all. And of course, these members of Constitutional Court, they are appointed by parties, by president, and by parliament. So they are actually political emissary. Okay, so they vote as their parties, they will ask them, and of course they talk about.
I have found one very interesting quotation of a Romanian writer and novelist, Igor Bergler.
Okay, yes, very famous.
Who told to Financial Times, I will quote it because it sounds really weird. He told that sometimes you have to sacrifice democracy to save democracy.
Yeah. This is their argument.
Yes. But my question is, people understood what is going on. I think that at least half of Romanian people were aware of that. Honestly speaking, I expected some huge protests of Romanians against this annulation of the results, against all what is happening now in the country. What is the reason why there were no more significant protests in Romania?
The concept of protests were confiscated during pandemic and even before, in the sense that a lot of NGOs, they confiscated the idea of protest, and the NGOs were financed by George Soros, by globalist entities. So the biggest protests in Romania were not those of the people against the power, but those controlled by the power against different politicians or parties when their predominance of economic situation of the country were put in danger. So you will not see real protest against the system in Romania, but protest organized by the system against the danger to be overthrown from the power. So first of all, the idea of protest in Romania is compromised by this very long tradition. Okay, this is one of the reasons. The second reason is that during the pandemic, people were very much punished because they protest. There are police against them. They were fined with a lot of money, so they were they were not encouraged to go to the streets by any means. On the contrary, this is the second reason. And the third reason is the candidate himself. I think he was afraid to call the people to come to the streets, and he told them not to protest. And of course, if the leader whom you are supposed to defend is telling repeatedly, do not go out on the streets because there will be violence, it is dangerous, let's wait. In that moment, of course, people are not motivated to go out on the streets. So the revolution didn't have place for all these reasons. I think it was the interest of the system to dissuade the people to come out and to make to forget about the situation. The winter holiday were very near; they came already, so the people will start to accept the situation.
And what is my last question? What is the most probable scenario when it comes to the elections? First, do you think that the system this time will agree to register the candidates from outside the system? And second, is it possible to mobilize people to defend an independent candidate and try to block the system if the system would like to block the candidate himself or cancel the results?
The elections will probably be on 23 of March, the first round, and 6 April, the second round. So this gives enough time to the system to prepare better, because they didn't know they are going to face such a discontent of the population. Now they have the government, they have the majority in the parliament, so they don't have to worry about this. So now what will they do? They will arrange again the candidacies in the same way to divide the votes and to collect the big votes for their own candidate. And this is a strategy for the votes against them, to have so many candidates just to divide the votes. But for themselves, they will have only one candidate from the socialist liberals and also the Hungarian minority party who is in government with them. So they will have only one candidate to increase his chances, to go to the second round or even to win from the first round, just to have a victory that nobody can contest anymore. So they will not divide between themselves. They will put all the money, all the resources, all the teams from all these three parties in one single candidate. And in the meanwhile, they will encourage the other candidates and the other parties to be as many as possible. I think that we did have 14 candidates at presidential election last time. Okay. And in this way, they will spread confusion, disputes, and everything else just to make sure they will win. They will win strongly, just to shut the disputes, the contestation afterwards. They still can annul, of course, any candidacy because they don't need real reasons. They just look behind to some statement, to some. Everyone in opposition have strong statements. I don't know if now, after 1 week of being a senator, I already didn't say something that can be against me over 10 years, or in this debate, for instance, you can extract from here enough reason for Constitutional Court to forbid me to to be human, or to traveling. Okay, so we speak here about people who have 5 or 10 years of active political role in Romania. 5 years for Iovanovici-Șoșoacă, for instance. In 5 years, you can find anything there to say it was against the law, it's something that put the state in danger. In 5 years in pandemic, you did have all this critical situation, pandemic, war, energetic, economical crisis. Of course, in campaign, you say very strong things, against the power. And now any 3 words can become head of accusation against you, so they can forbid anyone if it's a danger. But I think they will try not to forbid this time. They will try to win, apparently in a honest way, to win in elections. Just to close the doubts afterwards.
I hope that Romania will not be a precedent for all other European countries. Hopefully,
Poland, of course.
Yes. Hopefully, that's very important. Hopefully, we can exchange our experience and talk about the Romanian case, but also the other methods used by the system to block the independent candidates. I hope really that we'll have also some independent candidates in Poland, and that the system won't manage to block them. And within that broad, I would say, European anti-establishment movement, we'll have a lot to talk and to discuss about with each other. So I would like to finish our today meeting with wishing you and Romanians that you will be an avant-garde in the future in Europe, not in this field of inventing new methods of blocking the candidates and I would say annulling the democracy, not only the results of the elections, but well, let's say that from the geopolitical point of view, I would like Romania to be a country like Slovakia, you mentioned, like Hungary, so a little bit more independent than our countries are now. Anyway, thank you for this conversation, and I hope, if you agree, that we'll be able to follow the electoral campaign in Romania and to discuss about it in the future also for our channel.
Yes, as soon as the things are starting to move towards the elections, there will be more to say and a lot of interesting things to observe, who are not anymore interesting only for Romanians, but for the other countries also.
Yes, thank you very much, Clement. All the best for you. We also hope to invite the president of S.O.S Romania Party for another interviews and to talk about the situation more. Thank you and see you again.
Thank you. Happy New Year to everybody. And let's hope next year will be the year of peace, okay, and wisdom.
Yes, we hope so as well here in Poland. Thank you very much.